Evening, everybody. Welcome to our Wednesday night call. Can you believe that it is already the 8th of October? I mean, we're heading towards the end of the year really fast. It's so nice to see so many new people on the call. It's always nice to see people that I haven't seen before, and especially to hear testimonies like from Bruce before we even get started. So, for those who don't know me, my name is Merle Westcott. I live in Durban, South Africa. And I know we have an international call tonight, which is why I'm saying that. And I'm a senior presidential director in LifeWave. When I joined LifeWave in December 2022, I had absolutely no desire to tell anybody about the product. I was done with network marketing, as I think many of us are, because of past experiences. But when I saw what X39 did, I couldn't not tell people. So my history is that for the last, that's so funny saying history. Okay, I started life as a high school history teacher. I have an honors degree in history, so my history. But actually, the last 30 years, I have practiced and taught a complementary therapy called life alignment, and I'm also a qualified nutritionist. So I was doing blood tests on clients. I was working with doctors because my main focus in nutrition was reversing autoimmune diseases or working with inflammation in autoimmune diseases and working with people who were type 1, type 2 diabetics, those sorts of people, because type 2 diabetes can go into remission and people can go off medication. So when Candace, my sponsor, showed me a video of David Schmidt talking to healthcare professionals, I was completely sold on X39 and said, right, we're starting to patch, but this is not going to be, this is not going to be something that I'm going to do as a business. Well, that changed really quickly because in the first week I had a result with my shoulder. I'd injured my shoulder in 2012 doing a fitness challenge, and I battled furthermore. I mean, I was at the chiropractor all the time, at least three times a month. I go to chiropractors that work on the neurological system. So I wasn't actually having my bones click, but that's what I had to do to help with the pain. It ended up doing stuff with my foot. I mean, there were all kinds of things. I took anti-inflammatories, which I know are not great. I took them as really as I could, but I did use them. I did massages, I did all sorts. I battled to exercise. I couldn't do tricep dips. I couldn't do all sorts. I couldn't even put my arm under the pillow to sleep. In the first week, I could. So that was a result. And then a friend phoned me. I joined on the 8th of December. So just before Christmas, a friend phoned me to say she was so frustrated. She'd come back from the physio for the third time that week. It was 3 months that she hadn't been able to play tennis and she hadn't been able to lift her arm above her head. So, of course, I told her about LifeWave and we got a couple of patches to her. And the first patch that she put on, she was what we call a one patch wonder. 23 minutes later, she lifted her arm above her head. She then did some research. She signed up. So, it was my first sign up. Did some research, started patching her 80-something-year-old mom who had stage 4 Alzheimer's and who had shut down completely at the beginning of COVID. And within the first week, her sister who lived in Kimberley, so she lives in Durban, her sister was in Kimberley, and so was her mom in the old age home there. In the Alzheimer's unit, they phoned her sister almost every day to say, come and see Omar, which is Granny. And she would race over thinking something was happening and mom was, about to die. And instead it would be, look, she's happy, she's smiling, her eyes are open, she's starting to talk. She eventually recognized all 5 daughters. She did pass away, but she was close to 90 and she did enjoy a much better quality of life for her last few months and managed to actually have conversations with her girls again, which was quite incredible. Yes, she still had Alzheimer's, but the fact that she recognized all her daughters for the first time in many years and called them by name was quite incredible. So that was the beginning. And then in January, a long-time client of mine signed up. She signed up her friend Karen. Karen had a spinal cord injury when she was a student. And if anybody wants to see that testimony, I'll go back to the person who invited you and then we'll send it to you. But when her spinal cord regenerated and she drove a car for the first time in 12 years after 5 weeks of patching, I was blown away. And that was when I started telling people because I thought, how can I be in healing and keep this a secret? So that's my story. And I'm going to hand over to Kirsten because Kirsten's going to do the product part of the presentation. But she's first going to tell you her story and then we're going to move on to the product part. So over to you, Kirsten.
Hi everyone, delighted to be back here. My name's Kirsten and I'm also from Durban in South Africa. I've been part of LifeWave for just over 1 year now. It came into our life at a time where we were really struggling with our then 6-year-old ADHD child Aiden. He was on a Ritalin trial, and we were not having great success, especially with the downward spiral and all the nasty side effects that come with it. So we dove in, not knowing anything, thought, how bad can it be to put a sticker on him to see if it's actually going to do something? Can probably only be better than giving a 6-year-old a Schedule 6 drug. So we ordered patches, and only after that did we do research and almost immediately decided that we, as a family of 6, could benefit from this health and wealth wise. So we've seen great improvement, just generally, my husband and myself. Also, patches have totally transformed our medicine cupboard. We have nothing other than plasters left in there. So it's really changed a lot. Our children are hardly sick, and if they do, we patch them immediately. And when they wake up in the morning, they're fine. So it really, really has helped a lot in that way. Generally, if one kid would get sick, it would be a knock-on effect, and 6 weeks later, the house is maybe healthy again. So this has really changed a lot. Um, Small other family stories. So my whole family patches now, parents, everybody. My dad's had great results with tinnitus that he's had for over 40 years. And that was gone within 4 days of just X39. So it's really been great. But I think we can start the presentation now.
Perfect. Yes, let's carry on with the presentation. Let's get into the presentation and then we'll have some more testimonies a bit later. Just give me a chance to get this going. Just changing my display settings. There we go.
Okay, so many of you on here have been patching, others longer than some. Patches elevate, activate, and regenerate. We can't talk about LifeWave without speaking about David Schmidt. He is the CEO and inventor of X39. He's got over 200 patents now. He's a scientist and inventor who specializes in age reversing. In 2008, he focused his attention on stem cell research, and X39 took 10 years and $4.5 million to bring to market. So, what do we have with X39? I'm sure everyone on here understands what a patent is. And in order to get a patent, you have to produce the data that states that this does as you say it does, and that nobody else has it. So this patent was done in 2010. We still have 15 years left of
2020.
this. 2020, and we still have 15 years left of this patent. So what does it mean for us as a business? We have something that no one else has. This, which elevates copper peptides, activates stem cells, improves energy, elevates antioxidants, reduces inflammation, manages pain, elevates collagen production, and improves wound healing. So why X39? The fewer stem cells you have, the faster you age and the slower you heal. At the age of 30, only half of your stem cells are active, and by the age of 60, stem cells in our body show very little activity. So as we age, the stem cells in our body become less and less effective, and I'm sure most of you are aware of this, either experiencing this for yourself or seeing it with parents or grandparents. So we start to see basically the consequences of our lifestyle, toxic environments, and we don't have the ability to heal as we used to in our younger days. So the X39 patch is the first product ever that is designed to activate your body's own stem cells, as opposed to expensive and often potentially dangerous and ineffective stem cell injections. How X39 works. So it's a proprietary form of phototherapy. Phototherapy, in its simplest form, has been around for thousands of years. You've seen it in a form of putting newborn babies under light when they had jaundice, or infrared lamps for wound healing. X39 is a unique idea in terms of phototherapy. The patch itself is patented nanocrystal technology. It's a form of lattice work of amino acids, sugar salts, oxygen, and proprietary amino acids. So the patch is activated once it connects to your skin. We all, as human beings, give off light, and that light coming out of our bodies, which you can see if you look through night vision glasses, is what activates the patch. So it activates the collection of crystals in a patch, and what happens then is that it sends a frequency through the communication pathway into your body, which operates at the energy center of the cells. So the most significant thing about these patches is that they are non-transdermal. So nothing is actually going into your body. No drugs, no chemicals, no stimulants. It's just simply a frequency or a message communication. So that means they are totally non-invasive and definitely easy and safe to use. So the benefits of X39 are fantastic. Some of these listed below are required by some of us. Some might need all of these. With X39, you're able to achieve optimal health with increased strength, mental clarity, reduced inflammation, restored muscle or skeletal conditions, increased stamina, improved sleep, energy and vitality, and improved skin appearance. So all of these giving you a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. It's important to mention here that LifeWave products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. So this shows the topography map or scan of a 77-year-old woman's brain who used X39. In session 1, you can see how inflamed her brain is, the red and orange showing the inflammation. Session 2, you can see the inflammation is 100% resolved and her brain has improved coherence, and that is after 3 weeks of X39. And by 6 weeks, the third session, there is a complete turnaround with better brain coherence. So similar scans are also available on LifeWave's many platforms, showing fantastic results of X39 on different body parts. So often we don't necessarily think there's something wrong with us because we can't see it or we have no diagnosed illness, but we don't actually know what's going on inside. So the X39 long-term results. Per case studies on this is at info.com. X39 facilitates the communication pathway. So this stimulates the body to produce a certain peptide called GKU, copper peptide, and that peptide reactivates stem cells. So it gives your body the correct communication, which then allows your body to do which it does best, which is heal. Case studies are all available, so you can go into a lot more and see. But within the first few days, 4,000 genes begin to reset. Within 6 weeks, your brain becomes balanced, just as the scan showed on the previous slide. Within 3 months, your collagen is increased. Now, this is all due to that peptide because it stimulates all things. Collagen is what holds your body together. It's the most abundant protein in our bodies and the primary building block of our body's skin, muscles, bones, tendons, ligaments. It's really not just for the wrinkles, hair growth, and nail growth. Our gut, joints, and every part of the body is enhanced by collagen. Then the last mind-blowing fact is that within 6 months, your heart reverses in age. And that is what David Schmidt says. It's not anti-aging, it's age reversing. So, how do you wear X39? It's really so easy to incorporate in your daily lifestyle, doesn't matter your age. It just casually activates your stem cells while you get on with your life. So you wear this patch, here's one, um, maybe this way, for 12 hours on and 12 hours off to allow your body to repair and rejuvenate. You can then throw the patch away or put it on child, dog, husband, cat, or any other living thing. We have patched our plants as well. You then put a new patch on the next day and repeat. So you can wear more than one patch at a time, meaning X39 is the flagship patch. There are many other supplementary patches that are available and can be worn with X39, but not two of X39. So also it's a frequency which is essentially like electricity, and the better you are hydrated and the more balanced your electrolytes are, the better the frequency can be transported through your system. So it's really important to drink a lot of water and take electrolytes. X39 is so sophisticated, yet simple to explain. Um, so Alex always says that technology is extraordinary. And when we look at how technology has evolved around us or over the years, cell phones, microwaves, procedures or operations in hospitals, um, all mind-blowing. So why would we not think that technology would eventually step into this field of medicine? So the testimonials of X39 are life-changing and often very emotional. There are thousands of these available. X39 is always, or how X39 works will be different for everybody. It's a different experience for everyone. All our bodies are different, but the best thing about it is that it absolutely works.
Thanks, Kirsten. So now we're going to go into testimonies, which are always the best part. So I see there are more people on now than when we started. So when we started, Bruce, who's new to patching, told us his testimony. So Bruce, can we ask you to share again for those who weren't here when we started? And
Yeah,
can
for
you
sure.
tell us how long you've been patching for, Bruce?
Oh, I tried some way back, and then I went off them just because I was just I didn't have anything wrong, and not that I didn't notice any benefits, but just more recently I got this. I explained it the way I explained it was if sometimes you look up at the sun and you see that kind of circle, a fuzzy circle around the sun. It's anyway, that's what I was seeing in my eye, this round circle, like a bunch of floaters all stuck together, but in a circle, and it would move around as my eyeball moved. So I went to the eye doctor. Anyway, long story short, I got onto Sandy and I said, listen, I told her about it and she said, you need to patch. And I did. And honestly, I think it was a day, I can't remember. I was like, this can't be true. This can't actually be happening. That almost half of it had gone. And I was like, this is ridiculous. And actually, even within hours. So I carried on, obviously, and within a week it was gone. So it was totally gone. And I've noticed a lot more energy, sleeping a lot better. Just yeah, I'm still full of nonsense, but yeah, but but yeah, it's all good. So yeah, I'm just gonna go and keep on going. I haven't been on it. I haven't been on it. I'm only getting my second shipment in the next couple of days. Second
That's
sleeve, I should say.
a
Yeah,
second. That's amazing.
yeah,
So now you have a great story, so it's time to start sharing with others. So
yeah,
let's
yeah,
ask.
yeah, for sure.
Always nice
Yeah.
to have a story. So let's go to Sandy because Sandy not only has an eye test, Mish got lots of others. So I'm going to ask Sandy to chat next.
Hi everyone, my name's Sandy. I live in Scotland. That's why I've got jerseys and scarves on. Um, I've been with LifeWave for 2 years, just over 2 years, 3 months, and I've never been desperately ill, but I had a few issues with my eyes, and when I started on the X39, the things I noticed was the brain fog went, and I was sleeping better, and I just generally felt had more energy. Um, and I have glaucoma in the one eye, and I had cataract removed before I started patching. But then the ophthalmologist put me on a waiting list, as we have to with the NHS, and said about 2 years you'll need to have the other one done, the other cataract. So over the time, and I'm religiously on them and drink water with electrolytes, etc. And my most recent visit, and over time my eyesight's improved, and he doesn't understand it, and I show him my patch on the back of my neck and he just shakes his head. Still patching, and the last time I went he said it's almost back to normal, my eyesight, and the pressure in my glaucoma eye is right down because I do take drops for that, and I no longer have a cataract. So that's completely gone. And things I've noticed as well, I just had my annual checkup at the doctor's, and I did have a problem in 2009 with having my gallbladder out, and I had a cardiac event under anesthetic. Everything's back to normal. Cholesterol's back to normal. Thyroid, everything is within normal range, and they don't know what's going on. So I told the nurse that I'm on these patches, and she said, "Oh, tell me more about that." So we'll see. But I've also introduced people who've had incredible results. So my eyesight is pretty much back to normal. And I drove recently to my friend and I'd forgotten to put my glasses on, and I went, they said, "Wear your glasses." I said, "I must have forgotten to wear them." Yeah,
I love
and I
that.
mean, Bruce literally phoned me a few hours after he put the X39 on it. He said, "I just had to let you know this thing's already getting smaller and disappearing." And I was like, "What? You've only put it on this morning?" Yeah.
So exciting. And you've had great results with people and wound healing.
Oh, yes, I had a girl called Vanessa who's a quadriplegic, and she had a big open sacral pressure ulcer. I used to work in wound care for a medical company here, and I have a medical background as well. Um, she was told by the district nurses that her wound would heal with negative pressure wound therapy, which is also known as VAC therapy. It would take about a year for her. It was an open wound, you could see the bone, and she never told them she was on X39, and so they came in twice a week to change the dressing, and within 4 weeks her wound had closed, and they'd predicted a year to close. So when you think about the saving in wounds and dressings, and it's incredible. But nevertheless, it was a really good result for her.
It's fantastic. Thanks, Sandy. I always love hearing your stories because you have so many, because you patch so many people. And of course, having a medical background helps. And of course, Kirsten was talking about Alex, and Alex, my dear friend, and First Line is Sandy's sponsor, and they all come from a medical background. And Alex was probably the most skeptical out of everybody. I think she researched for months before she actually patched. She wanted to know how it all worked. So, Jonathan, you sitting there nodding your head, you got a great story.
Yeah, I'd love to share. Hi guys, I'm Jonathan. I'm in Wales, and so I'm also wearing a jumper, not far off from Sandy, originally from South Africa there. Yeah, I started patching just more than a year ago now. I started patching, actually like with the intention of giving it to my dad. I found out about stem cell research or stem cell therapy like 5 years before finding the patch and heard about the injections. They cost $5,000 to $25,000 for a single treatment. So, whoa, that's crazy. Heard about this patch. I was like, whoa, okay, if this thing works, like it's going to change the world. It's so affordable, all of these things. Did all my reading, my research. I was like, I don't know. Only way to know, buy it, put it on myself. At that point, I had sciatica in my back, had been bothering me for like a year and a half, and I couldn't lift up pretty much anything, including my daughter, without tweaking my back. My daughter only weighs about 30 kilos, also 35, and even picking her up would tweak my back. Got the patch, put it on myself. First day I put it on, felt like I had drank like 3 cups of coffee. I was like, ooh, like something's happening here. I don't know what's happening, but something's happening. And I was expecting the same thing to happen the next day when I put the patch on, but it didn't. And I was like, that's strange. And I just, you know, trusted the process, continued patching. And it was about 2 months later, I woke up, and for the first time in a year and a half, I woke up with no pain in my back. Like getting out of bed was painful every single day for a year and a half. And then it suddenly wasn't. I remember waking up, my wife was like, babe, check this. Check how I'm bending it. Yeah, so back got better. Immediately rang my dad because that was the initial intention. It was like, Pops, you got to get this patch and put it on yourself. And he did, and so did my mom. And like, I'll give the highlight reel. Like, after 2 months of my dad wearing the patch, he'd been using a walker and he'd been battling to walk from the house to the car. He'd previously, a couple of years before that, been diagnosed with heart failure and had a pacemaker put in. And that cardiologist that we were seeing in South Africa looked at his bloods and told him, you have 2 to 3 years to live based off of these bloods. Okay. Since then, they moved to the UK, started patching. After 2 months wearing the patch, my dad went on a 45-minute walk without sitting down. My mom rang me and told me that information. I was like, Mom, you're lying. But no, she wasn't. I went over, saw my dad, and like, even because he was falling asleep mid-conversation, you'd be chatting to him, next thing, boom, sleep in. That is no longer happening. He's awake, he's chipper, he's full of jokes, and he went for blood tests. I think it was like 3 weeks ago, so 2, 3 weeks ago, with the cardiologist here in Wales. That doctor looked at his bloods and said, look, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever it is, keep doing it because your bloods are perfect. And like going from the previous cardiologist saying you've got 2 to 3 years to live based on your bloods to this cardiologist here saying bloods are perfect. And like I can keep going. The one with my mom is just as drastic, or I don't know. And I'll summarize. Had cancer, had the cancer removed, had to go onto medication to prevent the cancer coming back. Side effects of that medication was decreased her bone density. She got a drip to combat that side effect. That drip made her feel terrible. She was flat on her back for 3 days at a time, every time she had this drip, and her bones were still getting worse. And then she was then diagnosed with osteoporosis. And yeah, also about 2, 3 weeks ago, they went in the same week, my mom and my dad, to the doctors. Because she goes for regular blood, not blood, bone density scans to see how her bones are doing. And this last scan, we found that none of her bones have gotten any worse because every single one of her bones and every single one of her joints had been classed as having osteoporosis. So this last scan showed that nothing had gotten worse, and they were continuing to get worse even with the drip that she was taking recommended by the doctors. But okay, so none of them had gotten worse, and several of them had reversed into what they call osteopenia, which is before you get to osteoporosis. So they are busy reversing, and I feel very confident that in a year or however long it takes, my mom's bones will be completely at full health again. And I've been rambling a lot, but
That's
that's
amazing,
me.
Jonathan,
Thank
because
you.
that's new updates we haven't heard. And interestingly enough, there are a couple of other people in my team who patching, also for osteoporosis, who've either gone back to osteopenia or to nothing. And all these specialists have told them, you don't go backwards. Like once you've got osteoporosis, going to osteopenia and then back to nothing is impossible. So all of these things that they tell you are impossible. So my very skeptical husband, who is an engineer, he has an amazing testimony. I think Jonathan heard it in the UK. I met Jonathan at the UK event last month. But he always says, okay, we're very reasonable people. Show us something works for 40 to 50 years and we'll adopt it. And anyway, he patched because I said he should, and he thought that his tinnitus might go, his achy joints perhaps would go. He's had surgery on one knee, those kinds of things. None of that happened. But in January, his dentist said to him, there's something happening with your gums. He was having some dental work done. So he actually did a testimony for me today for someone, and he said, well, that sounded expensive. And then the dentist said, I've never seen this before. And he had pyorrhea, which is a hereditary gum disease. And I say had because it's gone. So 2 years into patching without him even realizing it, because he always did all the things that you need to do to control your pyorrhea. You know, the flossing, the water picks, the brushing, oral hygienist, all of those things. It's completely gone. His dentist has all his records. It's all there. Now it's all gone. And he's never seen that in his career before. But like Sandy's optometrist or ophthalmologist, he is not really interested in adopting LifeWave. Some doctors are, but yeah, he's not. And I find that really interesting because when you see something like that in a patient that you've never seen before, I'd be wanting to know, well, how does this all happen? So that's a very exciting result. But we're talking about tinnitus. I had a client who's been patching for a month, or brand partner. She started because of her and her husband. She's retired. Husband had results that she can tell me about. We had a discussion 2 days ago, and she said, but I've had no results. She's also just had a gallbladder out. There's a whole lot of digestive things she wanted to work on. And I was telling her about Des and saying, but he's complaining, because he wanted his tinnitus, this, that, and that. Next thing to go, and this is what happened. And she said, you know what? I don't have buzzing in my ears. She hadn't even realized, been patching for a month, focusing on her stomach, had tinnitus, not even realized that for at least the last week, she's not quite sure how long, she has had no sign of her tinnitus. And because her husband's deaf and wears a hearing aid, he often put the TV up really loud, and that would bother her tinnitus a lot. And then she would complain about that and ask him to turn it down. And she said, but I haven't had to do that. And then she messaged me yesterday and she said, now that I'm listening for it, there's no buzzing. Bees are gone. So how is that for an interesting testimony? You don't even realize what is changing always. You think that nothing's happened to you because your body, like Kirsten said, everybody is unique and you don't know where the stem cells are going to go first in your body. Is there anybody else who would like to give a testimony? No, okay. Let's carry on. Oh, the other thing that happened to me is that in my first 4 months, I went for my yearly blood tests. I have an underactive thyroid, so I have bloods done every year. Well, I take myself off for the bloods, and then I go to my GP. And my bloods had improved so dramatically in the first 4 months. First time since 2015 that improved. So nothing had changed except patching. I mean, I've always had the healthy diet. I've been a coach and all those things. And my doctor halved my thyroid medication. So we see that all the time that, you don't take yourself off anything. And because I take meds, I felt fine. I didn't realize there was a change. All right, so this slide,
Yes, Merle,
yes, Nina.
just a very short one. Somebody who started patching 2.5 months ago because he's had eczema most of his life contacted me a week or two ago and said he's not having as many flare-ups and they're not as intense. But, this is just such a story about skepticism. So he was saying, I don't know if it's the patches or not. So I said, well, have you been doing anything else? He said, no. So I just find that quite funny that, people have those kind of results and they still don't believe it.
Well, one thing's for certain, Des definitely believes it. So
Yeah.
skeptical engineer has changed. And it's quite interesting because when he has his little say about being an engineer in the UK, we have a medical doctor called Alison Grimstone, who is a brand partner. And we were having dinner with Ali while we were in the UK. So after the event, we'd gone down to Caroline, who's not on the call this evening because she had a wisdom tooth taken out, and they broke it. They had to do whatever, and it was really sore. But she said to me tonight, she said, I'm not coming on because I had this out and I'm a bit swollen. But she said, I've had no painkillers. I'm just using patches and I'm pain free. So that's interesting. So she had that done today. But anyway, back to the Alison Grimstone story. So when Des was talking about, adopting things, she said, but doctors are the same. So he goes, yes, but you're dealing with one person. When we building bridges or buildings, we potentially are dealing with thousands of people at a time. So I thought that was quite funny. The doctor and the engineer who both saying how skeptical they are about things and how, they don't adapt things. Anyway, sorry, let me go back to the slide before. So this is at info.com. You saw it on the slide that Kirsten spoke about. This is our team website put together by Stephen G. Merritt. It's where you will find all the information on X39. So you'll find videos, you'll find a little video that shows you how X39 works with light. You'll see David Schmidt talking and explaining how he came to put X39, how he developed it. You'll see Dr. Leyland Stillman, a doctor, talking about the patch. Right at the bottom of the website, you'll find a panel of doctors, everything from an anesthetist, a vascular surgeon, chiropractors, functional doctors, GPs, all talking about how they use the patch in their practices. And they're all brand partners. None of them work for corporate. And a lot of them were very skeptical. I've met lots of them, and lots of them thought this was absolutely crazy and eventually tried it. The vascular surgeon is one example. He was like, there's no way this is going to work. And he has an amazing, his wife has an amazing test to me. And they are the sweetest couple. I've met them twice now. They were in Vegas in January and they were with us in Orlando now. So that's really exciting. So let's move on to the next slide. The clinical trials are there as well. So when I decided I was going to start building a LifeWave business, I thought I'd better find out about this company, because how can I tell people they need to join this company that could actually change their whole lives from a financial point of view, never mind health, if maybe it wasn't legit. So I joined in 2022. So in 2023, we were 19 years old. We turned 20 last year. We turned 21 in November this year. We're now open in over 80 countries, not just 75. But the very exciting thing about LifeWave, because we're patented technology, nobody else has what we have. So there's no competition in the market. So many other MLMs have incredible products, whether they're for skincare or supplements or weight loss. But if I say to you, well, I've got a weight loss shake, you might say, well, I've got a better one. And then when people really don't have money, they're going to go to a supermarket or they're going to go to a budget pharmacy and they're going to buy a shake that they may think is the same, but it's not going to be the same, but it's going to be cheaper. We don't have that. If you do go and buy LifeWave patches out of a pharmacy or health store, they are brand partners. And the agreement with the company is when they sell it out of their store, and any of us who sell them, we sell them at retail. So they cost more than if you order online from that same person. So my local pharmacy and my downline use patches in their clinic on patients. But when they sell patches, generally whole sleeves, they sign the people up as brand partners. So they're not carrying stock or anything like that. So in 2021, we did a $20 million turnover. We had been doing that for quite a while. In 2022, which was in Steve and Gina joined the company. So Steve and Gina Merritt, who put this as who lead the This Is a team, they introduced a system that was easily duplicatable. So along with X39 having come to market and then putting this easily duplicatable system in, the company's turnover went from 20 million to 320 million. So 300, million jump is quite something. In 2023, we did 430 million. Last year, we did over 600 million, and we are on track to do over $1 billion this year. So the trajectory of the company is quite something. We ranked on businessforhome.org as the #1 momentum company in the world in network marketing. And we are, well, the #1 momentum company, but we are also in the top 25 companies. So this year we moved into the top 25 companies of turnover, but we're the #1 momentum company. So although we're a 21-year-old company, our growth is exponential compared to anybody else. Usually when you're that old as a company, the growth slows down. Ours is not. We've got the biggest movement. So on the left-hand side, you can see Steve and Gina. They the lady in the striped pantsuit, and then the man in the black shirt. They're Steve and Gina Merritt, and they're on stage with David Schmidt, our CEO, and the inventor of all our products, and Meredith Burkich, our president. On the right is Meredith and her team receiving the Global Bravo Award in 2024. And then in 2025, we won the Global Bravo Award again, which is quite phenomenal. Now, at this point in the presentation, I'd like you to take a minute to think about why are you on this call. So if you're a brand partner, you've been asked this many times and you probably know why. If you're here as a guest, what is it that you're here for? Many of us in, I say, our previous lives, because I've moved from being a therapist, I see very few people anymore. I never had time. I was always working, especially when I ran online nutrition groups, because at 11 o'clock at night, it was somebody was desperate about knowing what they should have for breakfast. And on social media, people don't really have boundaries, which is quite interesting. Here we have people all around the world and we have groups. So when people ask questions, if I'm asleep, somebody who's awake in Australia will be answering the question. And you don't have to be there 24 hours a day. It's quite amazing. So do you have time with your family? For me, I never did. What about security? Whether that's financial security, job security, everything could change tomorrow. What about travel? If you like to travel, LifeWave has the most amazing incentives. And of course, we are always traveling for work because we're an American company. Those of us who live in South Africa, we have to travel if you choose to. So if you're a brand partner, you don't actually have to go anywhere. Most things happen online. But once you get to a certain level, traveling and seeing LifeWave from a different perspective is amazing. I joined for better health. That was all I wanted. Everything else changed too. What about less debt? I'm sure many people want less debt. Thanks to COVID, my husband didn't work through COVID because they shut down a lot of what was essential in South Africa. And of course, when you work for yourself, you don't earn. He now works for a company. And we had a huge amount of debt. And although we didn't lose anything, I can say we didn't lose our house, we didn't lose our cars, they were kind of nearly paid for. Our cars were paid for, our house nearly. We came out of COVID not knowing how we would ever get our heads above water. And December, 8th of December, it'll be 3 years since I joined LifeWave. I have absolutely no debt. Kirsten will know because she's my architect and interior designer, and I've redone my whole house this year. And it's amazing to be able to actually pay for those things without taking any loans. And then, of course, still travel, like to the UK to see my team there. I'm going to Orlando now to Global Convention. I was in Orlando for our team convention in August. I'm going to Anaheim for Global Convention. And it's just so nice to be able to connect with everybody in the team. So how do we get rewarded in LifeWave? Our compensation is really easy. It's as easy as getting to know 4 people to go manager. But if you're on the call tonight and you think, well, I never want to be a brand partner, but I want a patch, you can become a preferred customer or preferred customer plus, which means you can sign up under the person who invited you. You can get wholesale price as long as you set up a recurring order, and they can explain that to you. And they will get some commission off it, but you'll be paying the same price that they pay. But we really love building teams in LifeWave. So if you sign up and you then decide to build a team, you invite your friends to a call like this, you sign 2 up on the left, 2 on the right, you become what's known as the manager. We always say manager is the most important rank in LifeWave because it opens up that whole team commission structure. And the team commission structure, which comes from the binary, is capped at $25,000 US a week. Now, I'm nowhere near there, But I know many senior presidential directors who earn $25,000 a week from the binary every week. And that is just one of the ways that they are rewarded. Because we also have something called matching bonuses. And matching bonuses are unlimited. So where the other bonuses are capped, matching is unlimited, and it's really exciting. So Nina is my first line. So let's use Nina as an example. So because I'm paid as a manager or above, so in other words, a senior presidential director counts, every time anyone in my first line gets a cycle from the binary, so those team bonuses, I get 25%. But I don't get 25% of Nina's money. She gets her full bonus. The company rewards me for helping Nina and for helping everybody else in my team. So if I have 20 people who are getting cycles every week, then I will get 25% of all those cycles that those 20 people get. Now, if those 20 people have brought 30 people in as their first line, in other words, my second line, so Sandy's my second line, if any of those people on my second line get cycles, I get 20%. And then the people the second line bring in, that's my third line, I get 20% on the third line. Now, it's going to sound like double Dutch to you, but I'm going to tell you just now where you can go and find more information about this if this is really what you want to know about. Because some people want to analyze the plan before they sign up, whereas I had no clue how the compensation plan worked. I just signed up. When I signed my first person up and I got a product introductory bonus, which is what we get when we sign people up, I went, oh, that's nice. I got money. Where did it come from? And I worked it out. When I'd signed up a couple of people and I got my first cycle bonus, I'm like, oh, okay, there's more money. Where did that come from? And then I went manager and I worked it out as I went along, as I saw it in my back office. So really, you don't need to know it all to get started. You just need to, we always say ignorance on fire, you just need to start sharing. So for example, Bruce has now got a great story. So you start telling your friends, there's this incredible product. You're not necessarily going to have the same result I've had because you probably don't have floaters in your eyes that is really going to change your health. So how do you come into LifeWave? I always say you come in where you fit in. So you may think, well, like I did, I'm just going to patch for 3 months. Then Core is a perfect place to come in because for $295, you get 3 sleeves of X39. We don't add the delivery and the tax on here because every country's is different. And we obviously pay in our own currency, but it's charged in dollars. Unless you're in Europe, then it's in euros. So if you're in the UK, you're being charged in dollars, and everyone goes, oh, that's so expensive. But actually, the pound is stronger than the dollar. So by the time you pay, it's actually less in pounds. If you really want to go out of the gates running and you want to become a manager quickly, then you need to sign up on advanced because you need to be advanced or have 300 lifetime volume to become a manager. And that's going to cost you $535. So it really gives you your first really nice bonus. Well, discount because for $535, you are getting 6 sleeves of X39. And you can replace any 1 sleeve of X39 with 2 of the supplementary sleeves or patches like Eon and Icewave. So you can actually replace those, which is really nice. And you can also, when you come in on Core, when you need product again, upgrade to advanced, pay the difference and get the difference in product. I had a person who did that today. If you're a serious entrepreneur, you can come in on premium. It's going to cost you $1,750. It's going to give you 20 sleeves of X39, so they're going to cost $87.50 a sleeve. So they're already discounted, and that's already a really nice discount. But you're also not going to have to buy a product for 3 months if you come in on premium. My local pharmacy, the nursing sister there signed up under me. She then signed up the pharmacy. They came in on Core with Icewave and Eon because they were going to patch patients in the clinic. They were really skeptical. The results they had were so great that in the first week they upgraded from Core to premium because they knew they would need a lot of product. It's also really important to stay active if you're going to build a business because that means you won't lose any of the points below you on the binary. And to stay active, you need 1 sleeve subscription a month. If you are not a manager, that keeps you active at 55 points. And once you're a manager, you need 2 sleeves of patches a month to keep you active. So they're not asking you to buy tons and tons of product. Even senior presidential directors only need 2 sleeves of X39 a month to stay active. But obviously, most of us use more than 1 patch, so we buy other things too. So this is at info.com we've spoke about. This is at team.com is our team website, and that is your business builder's website. That is where you will find videos on the compensation plan. You will find onboarding. You will find little videos that explain how to go manager. Everything you need to build a business is on, this is at team.com. So it's a great site to go and look at if you want to understand everything. And it's all free for you, and it's all put together by Steve and Gina. So the time is now to make your move. Are you serious about your dream? Whether your dream is for better health or for better wealth, there is hope for your future, and it really is all about getting started with X39. So thank you everybody for being on the presentation this evening. If you have any questions or you want to know anything more about the packages, go back to the person who invited you to the call and they will explain everything to you. And Kirsten, thank you for presenting with me this evening.